We're going to go live now to Norway to listen to Mark Rutte, the NATO chief, who is just starting to speak there, talking for the moment about NATO's operations in Norway. He may, though, speak a little later on about the conflict in the Middle East.
The direction from which challenges may come. Our armed forces are ready to operate in extreme conditions. And Cold Response 26 is taking that readiness even further. I want to thank you as our hosts for your leadership during this exercise. Working together, we will continue to guarantee safety and security for our 1 billion citizens. And now over to Norway's Foreign Minister, please.
Thank you, Mark. This is Arctic security. This is NATO at its best. 32,000 soldiers, 14 countries exercising together in an Arctic environment. Land, air, sea, combined operations demonstrating our incredible capacity to plan and conduct complex operations. So we're really happy to see all our friends here, all our allies working together with us in this exercise. And of course, Tore and I particularly proud to welcome the Secretary General, to welcome you, Mark, to see what we're doing here. Norway has been eager to strengthen the Arctic outlook of NATO for a long time, and we're so happy that that is now happening. We recognize that we are living in maybe the most dramatic security environment since the Second World War. That's exactly why NATO was formed after the Second World War. That's exactly why we keep NATO front and center in our security outlook today. We have an ongoing war in Ukraine. We have increasing issues also elsewhere, and we have this heightened alert and awareness of what is going in our immediate neighborhood here. But then it's good to know that of the 8 countries that are in the Arctic, 7 are NATO countries. And if anybody is eager to strengthen the capacity to defend and secure the Arctic, there's a one-stop shop. There's one place to go. That is NATO. And NATO is really demonstrating its Arctic capabilities. And I've heard from many people come from afar and from close, exercising in this cold response and in previous cold responses, that the good thing about exercising here is that you can say, as in the song, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. So this is really a good place to try not only to conduct military operations, but also to survive and be good and take care of your troops while you're doing it. So this is one of the reasons that we are here. So very happy to have Mark Rutte, the Secretary General, but also very happy to have our 32,000 soldiers working here and in Finland and in the oceans around us in this very important exercise. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Secretary General, Foreign Minister and Defense Minister. Now we'll open up for some questions from Norwegian media. First is Norwegian broadcaster NRK.
Hello, Mr. Rutte. Is Norway's military build-up happening fast enough? What is your thoughts on that?
Yes, I think it is. Norway is absolutely investing in its military capabilities. You have a clear path to do more over the coming years. You are, when it comes to Ukraine, you are really one of the leaders in NATO, the support for Ukraine. When it comes to defense spending, when it comes to defending the eastern flank, defending the Arctic, and all these issues, Norway is clearly taking a leadership role. You're not the biggest nation, but you can say that you are punching heavily above your weight, and that's exactly what we need.
Thank you.
Donald Trump has voiced strong frustration over NATO allies' reluctance to take part in efforts to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and has once again hinted that the United States could consider withdrawing from the alliance. How do you respond to that, and does this prompt you to reconsider NATO's role and involvement in the Middle East?
Well, let me first of all state and say that when it comes to Iran and the risk of Iran getting its hands on a nuclear capability or a ballistic missile capability, we have consistently said as NATO, collectively, that that cannot happen. So it is really crucial that that capability of the ballistic missiles, of the nuclear capability, is severely degraded. When it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, I have been in contact with many allies. We all agree, of course, that strait has to open up again. And what I know is that allies are working together, discussing how to do that. What is the best way to do it? They are working on that collectively to find a way forward.
Thank you. Then it's Forsvarets Forum.
Hello, Mr. Rutte. How important is it with this exercise, with all these allied countries training together, not too far from Russia?
It's vital. When we look at Russia and you look what Russia is doing now in Ukraine, and whilst they are fighting in Ukraine and against Ukraine bravely fighting back, and I'm really impressed what the Ukrainians are doing. But whilst Russia is doing that, at the same time they are still able to continue the output of the defense industrial base. They spend 40% of their budget on defense. Of the state budget, which is 10% of the overall national income of Russia. And that means, and it's not there to organize parades in Moscow, it's there to be used. They use it now against Ukraine. And we know from open source what our intelligence services are telling and mentioning to the media over the last 12 to 18 months, that we have to be ready for Russia to indeed mount a challenge to NATO. Can it be in 27? Could it be in 29? Could it be in 31? And that means that we have to be ready. And that is money. And we decided in The Hague to spend the money. This is a famous 5%, including the 3.5% core defense spending. It's about keeping Ukraine strong, and it is also about the defense industrial output. And one of the things Norway is doing is really getting its defense industry to produce more, to work with other industries cross-Atlantic, not only in Europe, but also with the US. We are seeing many examples when it comes to this, also in this exercise, what Norway is capable of, but also the rest of the alliance. So I think we really have to be vigilant.
Then it's Nye Troms.
Question to Mr. Rutte, also the ministers can answer if they want to. What's the importance of railways in a NATO setting to transport personnel and military equipment, and should Norway, Sweden and Finland be equally equipped?
Well, military mobility, to use the buzzword for this, is crucial. Because what you want for a bridge, not only to hold my 18-year-old Saab, but also to be able to hold a tank if it needs to cross that bridge. And we know there are too many examples in Europe where we need to do more to make sure that all these bridges are able, when they have to be used in wartime, to also hold our heavy military equipment. But it is more than bridges. It is the whole issue of logistics, moving from one part to the other. When you look at Norway, I will not go into all the details, maybe some of it is classified, but you can, when you look at the map of Norway, you will easily find the spots on the map where Norway plays a vital role to make sure that when reinforcements are necessary, they can be pumped through Norway into Europe. But also when it comes to my country, the Netherlands, the port of Rotterdam, I can mention that because it is open source again. Other ports in Europe playing a vital role. Military mobility playing a vital role. Our railways playing a vital role. So we are working on this day in, day out. We do this with Norway, the UK, Turkey, working with the European Union when it comes to the European Union countries, of course, also EU, and then working again with Norway, the UK and Turkey and other countries not in the EU, because this is really a joint endeavor. Because it's great to have the investments, it's great to have the defense industrial output, the men and women in uniform, well trained, but we need to get them to the place where we need them.
If I may add to that question to Nye Troms, that for more than 70 years we were alone up here in NATO. Our dear friends Finland and Sweden were good friends but not allies. Now that they became allies, we are not only thinking north-south any longer, but also east-west. And there's tremendous opportunities for military cooperation, and also then new needs for military mobility in that north of what we call the Nord i Norden, the north in the north, cooperation across Finland, Sweden and Norway. And this is also something we are demonstrating with this exercise. So we see that has strengthened our strategic depth and also our ability to combine forces that previously could not combine. So, having this exercise now also gives us an opportunity to demonstrate that.
Okay, thank you. Then we finish this plenary session, and we start with the one-to-one interviews. NRK with the Defense Minister and TV2 with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, you were listening live there to Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO, speaking in Norway, answering questions there about NATO's role in the Arctic. That's why he's in Norway today. But also one question on the Strait of Hormuz. And with me, Angela Diffley, who is listening to a little of that, of those questions. And Angela, let's talk then about the Strait of Hormuz, the question he was asked about that. And not a particularly clear answer, it has to be said, from Mark Rutte. He said, look, we're discussing collectively how the strait can be reopened, but nothing tangible there from him.
Couldn't be more vague, they are working on a plan. Mark Rutte's job, of course, is to try and hold this NATO alliance together. That is what he is there for, and it is extremely difficult work at the moment. Trump, of course, has not stopped berating his European and Canada allies in NATO for their wholesale refusal to come to his aid in unblocking the Strait of Hormuz. The Europeans in Canada have all pointed out that, number one, they were not consulted about this beforehand, that they see NATO as a defensive alliance, that the United States was not attacked. It chose to start this war. And also, from Europe's point of view, that they are at the moment dealing with a real actual nuclear power rather than a power like Iran, which might well have been on the way to being a dangerous nuclear power. And so they have made their position very clear. Trump said, I told you so. I knew they would not come to our help. We don't need it anyway, but I will remember. And it is possible that, this short-term, attitude from Europe that you insulted us in Davos, you have not looked after this relationship, that Europe might regret it. Trump might remember it. He might let that feed back into his attitude towards Ukraine. We've already seen that he issued a 30-day waiver to sanctions on Russian oil, with that benefiting Russia. And these things are actually all connected. Zelensky, on the other hand, has rushed to say, can we help out? We have cheap anti-drone interceptors. We can help you use them. This is all a very messy mix. Trump has reaped the reward of his attitude towards the other allies in NATO, and they do not want to get involved in what could be a very messy war. Its objective is not clear. It looks very much like it might end up as the Iraq war did. And so there are very strong reasons that each European capital has decided it is not in their country's interests to come to the aid of the United States. But these things are connected. It should be hoped in Europe that this can all be repaired once Donald Trump is removed from the scene. He is so difficult to read. His motives are so difficult to read. His attitude is so difficult to read that perhaps the idea is that both sides of the alliance will hold on, and once Donald Trump is not there, things will look a bit better. But this Iran war is yet another illustration of the strains between the Trump administration and the rest of NATO.
All right, thank you very much for your thoughts on that, Angela Diffley.